Oral once a week. He respects that I want to keep myself for a while longer, not have sexual intercourse yet. And when a man grows and evolves into a different version of himself, and a woman does as well, will the feeling of love fade? I will answer you from the perspective of a relationship psychology expert. Calm, realistic, and non-judgmental. When talking about sex in a relationship, many people unconsciously place it at the center, as if it were the only measure of love. But with experience observing and analyzing hundreds of different love stories, I can affirm specific sexual behavior, whether it is oral once a week or no intercourse at all, rarely is the root cause that determines whether a relationship endures or breaks. What truly determines the depth of love does not lie in the frequency of intimacy, but in the psychological foundation beneath it. A mature relationship is not built on the rush to satisfy needs, but on the ability of two people to understand, respect, and adjust their pace for each other. First, having oral once a week, without full sexual intercourse, is not the core issue of the relationship. The core lies in three factors. 1. Mutual consent and respect. Are both of you genuinely comfortable with the current choice? Is anyone silently compromising? Is anyone waiting under pressure? A healthy relationship is always built on willingness, not endurance. 2. Emotional connection. Do you still have deep conversations with each other? Do you still share private thoughts, fears, and dreams? Sex can create excitement, but emotional connection creates lasting attachment. 3. Each person's level of personal growth. When one person changes, becomes more mature, more ambitious, more profound, is the other moving in the same direction? Love does not fade because of the absence of a specific intimate act, but because two people gradually stop walking side by side on the same path of development. When you ask this question, it shows that you are thinking seriously about the quality of your relationship, not just its surface. And that is a sign of emotional awareness in love, something not everyone possesses. He respects you. That is a very valuable sign. In relationship psychology, there is an important principle. The way a man reacts when he is refused or has to wait reveals more about his emotional nature than sweet words of love ever could. A man who accepts your pace, does not pressure you, does not create guilt, does not use silence or sulking to manipulate you. That is not something small. That is a sign of emotional maturity. Emotional maturity means he can control his own desires. He understands that sex is mutual consent. He places your safety and comfort equal to his personal needs. A man who loves mainly for physical needs will usually show it clearly when he is not immediately satisfied. Impatient, always pushing to accelerate intimacy. Irritated, changing his attitude when rejected. Using sacrifice as pressure, saying things like, "I've already waited for you. I've done so much for you." That is not deep love. That is emotional transaction. In contrast, a man who loves from deep connection is completely different. Patient, because he does not see waiting as a loss. Respectful of boundaries, because he understands boundaries create safety. Viewing waiting as part of the process because he wants to build a strong foundation, not just temporary emotional peaks. A man who truly wants commitment thinks long-term. He does not ask, "When can we have sex?" He cares more about the question, "How can we build a lasting relationship?" If during this time he still takes initiative to care about you, nurtures your emotions, has deep conversations instead of focusing only on sex, talks about future plans that include you, then it is very clear that his feelings are not built entirely on sex. Sex can create excitement, but respect creates trust, and trust is what keeps a man staying long-term. In love, when someone can control desire to protect your emotions, it is not a loss, it is a conscious choice. And conscious choices always last longer than instinctive reactions. What you need to observe is not whether he has desire or not, but where he places that desire in comparison to your safety and your value. When both people grow, does love fade? This is the truly important question. Many people fear that when they change, become more mature, stronger, more independent, love will gradually disappear. But from the perspective of relationship psychology, what makes love fade is not growth itself. It is the direction of that growth. In love, there are always two types of change. One, growing in the same direction. Both people continue to develop, but they respect shared values. They look toward a similar future. They admire each other's new versions. In that case, love does not fade, it simply transforms its state. At first, it is infatuation, a fast heartbeat, constant longing, intense desire. Later, it becomes deep attachment, calmness, trust, companionship. At this stage, the emotions are no longer as loud as in the beginning, but they are far more stable. Two people no longer love because of stimulation, but because of conscious choice. In reality, admiration is one of the strongest bonds in long-term love. When you look at the other person and think, he is better than he was last year. She is more mature, more profound. Then the feeling does not disappear, it grows up alongside both of you. 2. Growing in different directions. In contrast, if one person develops in mindset, discipline, life goals, while the other remains stagnant or shifts values in a different direction, the distance will not lie in sex, but in awareness. At that point, the feeling of love may decrease, not because physical attraction is gone, but because there is no longer admiration. There is no longer the same mental frequency. They no longer see each other as companions on a long journey. Human beings tend to love those they admire, or those they feel aligned with. When that alignment disappears, the emotional vibration gradually changes as well. This is something many people misunderstand. They think they have fallen out of love because they have less sex, because emotions feel duller, because there is less novelty. But at a deeper level, they are sensing an expanding gap in values. An important truth: sex can sustain passion in the short term. But sex cannot maintain a long-term relationship if values have diverged. You may still be physically attracted to each other, but if you are no longer growing in the same direction, the connection will gradually thin out. On the contrary, if two people mature together, continuously improve themselves, expand their thinking together, then even when the initial infatuation softens, the relationship remains strong. Because at that point, love is no longer based on feelings, but on companionship. And in mature relationships, companionship matters far more than temporary emotional sparks. From a biological perspective, does love fade because you have not had intercourse? If we look through the lens of neuroscience and relationship psychology, we need to understand that the feeling of love is not just a vague emotional state. It is the result of very specific biological reactions in the brain. In the early stage of love, the brain releases a powerful hormonal cocktail, dopamine, creating excitement, anticipation, pleasure. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, creating feelings of safety and intimacy. Testosterone, driving desire and physical attraction. This combination is what makes you think about that person constantly, feel your heart race, and experience everything as intense. Sex does increase oxytocin, thereby enhancing closeness. But what is important to understand is this: sex is not the only way to activate oxytocin. Long hugs, holding hands, trusting eye contact, deep conversations, sharing vulnerabilities, overcoming difficulties together, all activate this bonding mechanism. In fact, long-term emotional companionship can build a more sustainable oxytocin foundation than physical stimulation alone. Many studies in marital psychology show couples who delay intercourse often report higher marital satisfaction because they are required to build emotional foundations, shared values, and communication before entering full intimacy. When a relationship develops based on understanding, trust, and mutual consent, sex later becomes an extension of connection, not the only factor holding it together. If both of you are genuinely comfortable with the current pace, no one is silently compromising, no one is suppressing themselves out of fear of losing the other, then feelings will not fade simply because you have not had intercourse. Emotional decline usually comes from much deeper causes. Loss of attraction, no longer caring for oneself, no longer investing energy in the relationship. Lack of communication, no more deep conversations, only surface-level exchanges. Unresolved conflicts, resentment gradually accumulating. Lack of novelty, everything becoming repetitive and unconscious. In other words, emotional fading is rarely caused by the absence of a specific sexual act. It more often stems from a decline in connection, admiration, and emotional investment. So the question you should ask yourself is not, will he fall out of love because we have not had sex? But rather, are we still connected, still admiring each other, and still choosing each other every day? If the answer is yes, biology will support you, not work against you. What you are truly worried about when a woman asks whether not having sex will make feelings fade, on the surface, it seems like a question about intimacy. But at a deeper psychological level, what you are worried about is not just the physical act. It touches a very human fear. Will he still love me if I don't give him everything? This is not a question of weakness. It is the question of someone who wants to be loved for her value, not for her availability. In many relationships, women unconsciously carry a silent pressure. If I don't give enough, he will leave. If I hold back, he will get bored. If I slow down, he will find someone else. But from a professional perspective, I need to say this clearly. If love depends entirely on you giving your body, then it is not sustainable love. It is attachment based on need. Need can be powerful, but need is not a foundation. A man who is emotionally mature will not define love solely by the level of physical intimacy. He will want more than that. Connection, deep conversations, understanding, the feeling of being seen and heard. Respect, your boundaries are protected, and his values are recognized. Growth together, improving yourselves, moving toward a shared future, maturing over time. A man who only seeks physical satisfaction will measure a relationship by frequency. A mature man will measure it by depth. What matters is not how much you give. It is what he loves you for. If he loves you because you inspire him to become a better version of himself, because you bring peace and respect into his life, because you are the person he wants to walk beside long term, then the fact that you have not given everything will not make love disappear. On the contrary, it helps him understand that this love is not built on urgency, but on conscious choice. And love built on choice will always last longer than love built on instinct. A deeper perspective, in mature relationships, love does not stand still. It transforms according to the growth of the two people within it. When two people grow together, in mindset, in emotion, in career, in character, love also changes its form. At the beginning, love often starts with the feeling of wanting to have each other, wanting to be close, wanting to touch, wanting to possess, wanting confirmation that the other belongs to you. That is the stage of instinct and passion. But if the relationship is deep enough and healthy enough, it gradually shifts into a more mature state, choosing each other every day. Choosing each other means, even when there are other options, you still choose this person. Even when emotions are no longer explosive like in the beginning, you still see this person as worthy of walking beside you. Even during moments of exhaustion, you still respect each other and do not intentionally hurt one another. Infatuation may decrease over time. That is a biological law. Dopamine cannot remain at a peak level forever. But long-term love is not sustained by emotional highs, it is sustained by a foundation. Respect, trust, secure attachment, and admiration. These are the elements that keep people staying when passion is no longer as intense as it once was. So instead of asking, will not having sex make the feelings disappear? You should observe deeper essentials. If you are still attractive in his eyes, not only physically, but in your energy, your presence, your confidence. If you are still the person he wants to share the most important parts of his day with, if you are still the person he feels proud to mention, then not having full intercourse will not erase love. Sex can intensify emotions, but respect and admiration sustain them. A man stays long-term not because every need is immediately satisfied. He stays because he sees value, because he sees a future, because he sees the woman in front of him as someone worth choosing, today and tomorrow. And when love reaches the level of choosing each other every day, it no longer depends on a specific act, but on the quality of the two people walking side by side.